Hello friends, welcome back to the next session on general insurance. Now let's begin with our learning. In this particular session, we'll be understanding or dealing with the concept of the third party administrators. So what will be the learnings or takeaways from this particular session? You will be able to understand and describe what do we mean by a third party administrator, what are the various activities that are being performed by a TPA, that is third party administrator in the insurance industry. We will be also dealing with or understanding the various regulations involved in TPA. What are the various prerequisites and description as to a full-time TPA? And lastly, the benefits that are being provided by the TPA, that is third-party administrators. Now let's begin with the first concept, that is what do we mean by TPA, that is a third-party administrator. A third-party administrator is an organization that processes insurance claim on behalf of an insurance company. So, in this particular case or the scenario, an insurance company is been appointed or a particular organization is been appointed for processing the claims that have been received by an insurance company. So, whenever a particular insurance company is receiving an insurance premium from different people, and accordingly, when the insurance claim is being filed, the organization, what the insurance company appoints an organization for processing of all those documents, and these particular documents have been processed by a third party, and the person or the organization so appointed for processing those particular documents is called as third party administrators. Normally or usually, a contract is always being signed between the insurance company and between a third party administrator. So, this particular contract is being signed for the mutual agreement between the parties, that so that whatever terms and conditions that have been laid, whatever processes, roles, responsibilities, duties, each and every company, that is the insurance company and the third party administrator, they have to perform, is written on paper and it is being binding for both the parties. And hence, for this particular concept, the mutual agreement is being signed between those parties. Both these particular parties play a major role in terms of health industry or healthcare sector. So usually we find the third party administrators in terms of health insurance or in terms of healthcare industry, wherein the insurance claim settlement between the hospitals, the networked chain of hospitals, and the insurance company and the insured person is being undertaken by those third party administrators. Now, what are the various procedures or activities that are being performed by the third party administrator? The first activity that they have to perform is application by the insurance company. So initially, the application is needed or it is being received by the third party administrator from the insurance company, and accordingly they have to get a receipt of application. The proper procedure of inwarding and outwarding the documents, registering those particular applications and the claims that have been received is needed to be received, and accordingly the processing is being processed or is being started at this particular stage. Then another activity that they have to perform is inspection of the documents. Whatever the application that they have received, along with the application, we receive the different types of documents. Those particular documents are being related either with the insured person, related to the hospitals, related to the insurance company, and so on. So in this case, the third party administrator has to look after all those particular documents. They have to inspect about the authority, potency, clarity, and confirmation of those particular documents, whether they are true and genuine, and accordingly, the decision of the inspection and verification is needed to be undertaken. Verification and processing. Inspection. After the inspection of documents is being undertaken, they need to verify that whether the documents are correct, true, as per the information that has been provided, and if they are true and correct, they have to further process those particular documents. These particular documents are being further processed for finalization of the particular claim. The claim that is needed to be set is not finalized immediately, but initially before that they have to estimate or justify what is the amount of claim that is being done. So the initial identification or the amount that we have to look for is always needed to be identified. It needs to be projected, and then they move towards the finalization of the particular claim. So projection is of utmost importance. Then communication of insured and the company. So in this case, when the claim is been finalized, the third party administrator has to inform or they has to intimate both the parties, that is the insured company as well as the insured person about what claim, what procedure has been undertaken, what documents has been verified, and what is the amount of claim that has been finalized. So depending on the activity that has been undertaken, that is in respect to your health sector, that whether the bill is been approved or not approved, whether the disease was been covered or not covered, if it is been covered, what amount is been covered, and what bill has been sanctioned. All those explanations and communication is needed to be given by the third party administrator to the respective insured person and to the insurance company. And lastly, they have to process for the reimbursement. That is the amount or the claim that has been set, that has been finalized. The procedure for reimbursement or payment of those reimbursement amount is needed to be undertaken. And in this way, the procedure or activity of the third party administrator is being undertaken. Now let's look towards the various regulation or the regulatory authorities. The initial primary regulatory authority in case of third-party administrators is IRDAI, that is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. The Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India has amended its Act of Insurance Act in the year 2001, and based on the various amendments, the certain rules, regulation and guidelines have been provided in the year 2005. So, with respect to the applicability of amendment in the year 2001, the rules have been set for the third party administrator in the year 2005. And every third party administrator who is registered with the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, that is IRDAI, they have to follow those rules, norms, guidelines and policies that have been framed under the provision or the control of IRDAI. Always, in addition to these, there are TPA, that is Health Service Regulation Agreements, which a third-party administrator has to undergo and sign with the insurance company as well as with the regulatory authority. So, those particular regulations are provided in the Act or in the amendment of 2001. At the same stage or point of time, the third-party administrators are also called as the licensed or registered agents of the respective company. So they act as a registered agents or the agency licensed people which have been governed or which have been controlled under the purview or regulation of IRDAI, and hence they have a proper licensing certificate. At the same point of time, the various state and the central authorities who are into existence, the norms, rules, the points that have been given or the guidelines that have been given by the state and the central government, all those rules and guidelines and norms they have to follow and fulfill. As well as in simultaneous concern, the various norms that have been provided by the Indian Companies Act 1956 or the Companies Act of 2013, those particular rules also applies to the third party administrators. Now, what are the various prerequisites for your third party administrator? The first prerequisite is you need to get or obtain a license. This particular license can be either received from IRDAI or getting yourself registered under the Amendment Act of 2001. Simultaneously, you can get or obtain a license by registering under an insurance company or by registering under the Companies Act 1956. For this particular concern, the minimum paid up capital should be of rupees 1 crore. So this is a certain prerequisite. If you have a minimum paid up capital of rupees 1 crore, you can go to the IRDAI or Companies Act or the insurance company and get your get your license and registration as the third party administrator. In the case, now there are various different type of health insurance companies, life insurance companies or the general insurance companies into existence. But the third party administrators are majorly involved in terms of healthcare services, in terms of those concerned wherein the amount of claim settlement or the amount of disbursement is much higher and the processing takes a longer period point of time. Now, in this case, the same as in terms of Companies Act of 1956 or 2013, the composition of board of directors is essentially required. So, as a part of a prerequisite, the third party administrator must have a chairman, must have a managing director, and must have a functional board of directors, wherein one person or the one director will be working as a whole-time directors and other 5 members can be the acting directors in the company or in the organization. Here, so one again in the same case, one full-time doctor as an independent director also needed to be appointed. So a full-time doctor is also needed to be appointed in the organization or in the constitution of the third-party administrator. At the same point of time, the team practitioners or a medical practitioner is also been required for verifying, processing, and inspecting the documents that have been submitted by the insurance company for processing of claim. So what are documents that have been submitted by the insured person which have been received from the hospitals? All those documents are needed to be verified, cross-checked by the medical practitioner, which has been approved by a registered doctor or a full-time doctor, and only with the approval of the full-time director or a doctor who act as an independent director, then only the bill will be sanctioned and the claim will be finalized. Now, what are the various compliances that a third-party administrator has to do? What the third-party administrator are expected to disclose its identity. So, a proper communication between third-party administrator, the insured person, and the insurer is needed to be undertaken. Accordingly, the identity needs to be disclosed. Next concern we have is disclosing the license details to the policy holders. So whether the third party administrator is a licensed person or not, those particular license details must also be disclosed to the policy holder, that is the initially insured person. Next concern we have is disclosing the requisites documents. So whatever document that have been related either to the licensing, either to the identity purpose, or either to the verification or the finalization of the particular claim, all those requisite documents must needed to be fulfilled, and accordingly it must be disclosed to the respective parties or to the respective vendors. Showing of examination of an insurance claim. So a proper examination and the disclosure of the insurance claim is needed to be provided, and accordingly the insurance company must fulfill and state about what rules, regulation, guidelines they have been fulfilled and how the claim finalization process has been undertaken. And lastly, disclosure of the records of his business. So whatever business that has been undertaken, that in case of what documents has been received, what processing has been done, and how the finalization of the claim is been done, all those identities, all those documents is needed to be disclosed by the third party administrators. And lastly, maintaining the confidentiality. So at every stage, at every point of time, what do we have to see? That the documents are been related to a personal person, to an individual person, and the third party administrators has to maintain a proper confidentiality about those documents. Now, what are the various benefits that have been given by the third party administrators? First thing is the cashless treatment. So, where if you have a planned treatment for your particular healthcare concern, then accordingly the cashless policy can be given. The cashless policy in terms of network hospital. So if there is a network or a chain of hospitals wherein there is a proper tie-up or an MOU between an insurance company and between the hospitals, then accordingly the cashless treatment can be given for a planned treatment or for a networked chain of hospitals. TPA, that is third party administrators, can be in an advanced requirement also. That is, if you have a pre-existing diseases or a pre-existing concern, and accordingly you need to undergo a particular treatment. So TPS, that is third party administrators, can act as an initial agents or an advanced service providers also. Comprehensive claim. Third party administrators also perform their duties and activities for a single transaction or for a multiple transaction. So for the comprehensive or the group benefit concern also, the third party administrators are into existence. Settlement and reimbursement. The third party administrators are also dealing with in consideration of settling the claim, which is either for an individual transaction or an individual claim or for a group of claim, that is accordingly the comprehensive claim also. And lastly, the reimbursement. The reimbursement is a particular concern wherein the amount is being paid by TPA, that is third party administrator, to the insurance company, and insurance company paying to the insured person. In total, we have around 30 TPAs in India. So accordingly, as per the registration and the licenses that have been given by the IRDAI, we have around 30 plus TPAs in India. So now let's conclude what we have learned. TPAs deal majorly in or overall in healthcare services sector only. So here in this case, the major service activity that has been undertaken by TPA is in terms of healthcare sector. The few examples of the TPAs in the healthcare sector includes, which is eMeditech Vidal Health, that is, which is formerly known as GTK Health Prestige. Now, another example is MD India Healthcare Medi Assistant United in Healthcare East and West region, taking interest in insurance company as well as the insured person. Now, what does the TPAs do? The TPAs are protecting the rights and duties or the obligations of both the parties, that is the insured person as well as the insured insurance company. And lastly, always it has been assumed that TPS portray the professional behavior. So it has been assumed that the professional behavior with respect to the service quality and goods and services delivery is always been portrayed by the third party administrators. And best suitable service and advice has been given to everyone. Now let's summarize what we have learned at this particular stage. In this particular session, we have learned who is a third-party administrator, what is the importance or need of a third-party administrator, and what are the various activities that they are performing in the healthcare services or the health insurance sector. And lastly, we have also dealt with the various regulatory agencies and norms that one has to follow to be a good and effective third-party administrator. I hope you must have enjoyed the learning. Stay continued with your learning process. Thank you.